Well, our air was out in our office yesterday.
What?
Oh
Yeah, and then it was 84 degrees in my office.
Oh.
I came in this morning.
My
and I had
gosh.
the Department of Labor we had an audit. They were one of my clients. They were coming in today. This woman, I literally called.
That'll make you sweat.
I emailed the building. I said, I need to know by 9 a.m. if this is getting fixed today because I'm not going to sit in this conference room during this audit.
Oh my gosh,
and sweat
no.
my ass
No.
off. And luckily they had it fixed, but it still wasn't cooled off enough yet. So
I was freezing
Residual
in
sweat.
my office today.
I would trade your
Yeah.
places any day of the week.
Mine
It
was
was
freezing, and
freezing.
then I come out, and I'm like, I didn't have time to change, so here we go.
By
I'll
the
be
way,
sweating
guess
too.
who walked right by my office window today?
Who?
Jerome Bettis.
No
Oh, yeah?
way!
Walked right
the
by.
bus.
Yep.
That's awesome.
Gave me a little wave.
Aw.
That's
It's a
awesome.
big man.
Yeah,
He's
he
super
wasn't
nice.
getting
He's a
around
super
too
nice
well.
guy.
Yeah,
Oh.
he waddles now.
He
Yeah.
hurts.
Yeah, he's hurting.
absolutely.
He hurts.
Knee's got to be shot. Okay, thanks for doing this. Round 2, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
I appreciate you carving out time in your schedule. I know all three of you are exceptionally busy.
Appreciate the opportunity.
Absolutely.
Absolutely reciprocated. Okay. I'd like to talk for this first segment about regret. Okay, and let me ask a couple questions about regret, and feel free. We don't have to go in any particular order. You three are sophisticated enough to figure it out. I ponder a lot about regret. I do. I probably have more than I probably should, but I don't feel bad about it. Like I'm really at peace with it because I think the regret has. And I think I write a lot, so I journal every day, meaning that my life is staring me in the face and it's been rehashed over and over. So that's probably part of the reason I tend to dwell maybe on things. But I'm interested in what other people think about regret and what the definitions of regret are and whether or not it is a part of your life, if you're comfortable admitting it, or we'll get into it. But let me just ask you about regret. Are you at peace with whatever amount of regret you find yourself having with your life?
I mean, yeah, I think so. I'm at peace with it. I think the things that I regret in my life taught me lessons that I needed to learn. That's why I'm at peace with it. I would say, because I mean, truly, you know, I'm not going to say I don't have regret. We all have regrets, right? And there's mistakes I've made, but looking back, I learned from them. So I'm purely at peace with it. If I could go back and change it? There's probably a few things I'd be like, yeah, I probably shouldn't have done that.
That leaning building?
Yeah, that's what, yeah, we won't get on that again. But yes, that's one of those regrets. Yes, that was definitely a regret, but I learned a lot. Don't buy a building that's not straight up and down.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I'm definitely at peace with mine.
You just got to hang the pictures differently, right?
Or just actually look at it straight and say, something's off. Don't buy that. But I did.
Man.
Oh,
I will say this came up recently in a conversation I was having. You know, a lot of you know a little bit about my background. You know, there was a point in a phase in my life that I was in survival mode. You know, my teenage years, my early 20s. And survival mode can bring out the worst in you. It can bring out the best in you. When I was in that phase of survival mode, I made horrible decisions. In that phase of my life, I made more decisions I regretted than the rest of my life since. And I think the key with that is, one, I learned from it. To your point, Rocco,
yeah.
I learned from it. I was able to grow from it. I allowed myself to use it as fuel, but I always carried a level of shame with it. And I sent this because somebody was going through this recently, and I sent them this quote that I had saved in my phone for years when I finally came to a place that I could forgive myself. And this was the quote: "Forgive yourself for what you did in survival mode. It's a new chapter now."
Wow.
And, you know, we don't have enough time in this show to talk about what I did in that phase of my life and the regret and the shame that it brought. But I think when you're in that mode, you have to realize that that's what you did. It's not who you are. And you have an opportunity now to change. But it took me years to forgive myself for the way that I behaved. but I learned a lot from it, and I'm grateful for those experiences.
Yeah. Oh,
Wow. Yeah, I would say same thing. I'm in the learning in that. Am I comfortable with the amount of regret? I would say at this year or two of my life, no. I've really found myself mired in a little bit more of it than I ever thought I would be, because I feel like in the survival mode of maybe my last 4 or 5 years, I've just not made great decisions in some areas. And so I find myself just a little bit more stuck and a little bit more ruminating on that, thinking I should be better. I should be better. I should be better. We're all hard on ourselves.
Yeah.
We wouldn't be at this table if we weren't. But yeah, maybe I'm not right now.
I think my regrets, the ones that still cut deeply, are circumstances where my emotional intelligence was just not there or really lacking. When I unwind it, moments where I just did not control my emotions in a way that my decision making was cloudy, and unfortunately, I hurt some people making the wrong decision. And sometimes I knew it was the wrong decision, and I still made it. My emotional intelligence was not strong enough, and I think those are the things that I regret still to this day. I try not to dwell. I try to maintain positivity, not like this guy, but I truly, and in some way, I just believe that the things that we did were part of this pathway, the journey, so to speak. And there's a level with me of acceptance that it probably was inevitable. Because all the things that have happened since relied on the prior things happening.
Right.
I don't know if that's determination is. I don't know what the word is for, but I kind of like take stock in the fact that I don't want to give myself too much credit that I would have had the ability to make all these correct decisions, because that's just not the human experience, I don't think.
Yeah.
It's
true. Yeah, it's absolutely true. I think what you said hits a nerve with me, which is when I think back to my deepest regrets, they're tied to people that I hurt. And in some cases, I hurt people that I didn't even know. I'll give you an example. I remember it was my junior year of high school, and it's Christmas Eve. My mom is in rehab. My family is just torn apart. And I come home from hanging out with my buddies, and there's no Christmas decorations. My dad's sitting in a chair just kind of down. My brother's just angry. There's no tree, there's no lights, there's no nothing. And I walk in and I'm like, what's going on? Why are we not having Christmas? And my dad said something like, man, I just don't have the energy, and I just don't have the money to go get a tree, because we always got live trees. We couldn't afford an artificial tree. And so I took it upon myself, and I went down to the basement and I grabbed a handsaw, and I just started driving around town until I saw somebody that had a nice looking Christmas tree in their yard. And
golf courses are good.
I cut it down, I tied it to the top of my car, and I brought it home. I justified it as being like Robin Hood, take from the rich, give to the poor. But so many times I think about wonder what these people thought when they woke up the next day.
Where'd my tree go?
And then a buddy of mine was like, maybe they planted that tree because they planted it in honor of a baby they lost, and they wanted to watch the tree grow. I'm like, bro, you got to hit me with that? Yeah. And so 15 years after that, I went and I put a gift card on the door and left. I didn't even have the courage to say, I'm the one that cut your tree. But I left a note and a gift card and said I was sorry. So it was my way of healing. But it was man, I probably hurt them, and who knows?
Did it work, though? Because here you are talking about it.
Well, look, there's plenty of examples like that that I look back and I regret, because I hurt people, and it could have been catastrophic.
Yeah, for sure.
But you mentioned this too, and so did you, Rocco, and so did you, Lynn, is you can either let those adversities or challenges be anchors or propellers.
Mm-hmm.
And so often, like, they do become anchors and they take people out of the game.
Yeah.
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
for sure.
But if you allow it to put a little bit of a chip on your shoulder, now I see it as there might be somebody living that life. And if I can tell my story, maybe I can inspire them to realize that there's a better way and you can make it out.
100%.
Now that propels me.
100%.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Oh, I'd like to comment on
Yeah.
what both of you mentioned and the hurting others. So I think what I would say is one of my current regrets is I've left a lot of people wondering right now because I pulled out of a lot of things and maybe in survival mode, but I'm leaving them wondering. And I haven't given them an explanation because there's a part of me that doesn't feel safe enough to say what I'm really dealing with. And like speaking of Christmas, I pull out my scroll of Santa reasons why.
Mm-hmm.
Why I've got this going on and this going on and this decision and this pressure and this burden and this, and I want to explain myself, but then I feel like then that cheapens it somehow. So I just leave people wondering, and that is no good place to be. So I need to dole out some gift cards on some doorsteps.
Man.
Jeez, I didn't realize it was confession tonight.
There we go.
No, but
Thanks, Eric.
But that's an important thing. I look at it as you're sitting there saying, like, I think I'm almost the opposite. I've done more things to myself that I regret than to other people. Like, I think I've always put other people first my whole life to my own detriment, where, I look back at certain decisions I made in my life. I was doing things that I knew didn't make sense, but the other person thought it did, so I just went along with it. And it was like, instead of actually giving them the real advice or saying, hey, this is probably not the best decision, it was because I wanted to help them or serve them. It ended up doing more damage to myself. So it's just interesting, like, how listening to you guys say that, to me, I'm sitting here thinking of the things I regret, and it was all things I literally did to myself. Like, really things I caused to myself because I was trying to help someone else or do something for someone else that just was a detriment to me. I learned from it, but it's definitely, it sticks with me.
Yeah.
It definitely does.
Yeah. Those are the stingers for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, let me ask you this. So when you think of the concept of regret and whether you see it playing out with other people or yourself, is it, do you think it's more about like a lost potential, or do you think it's more about an unmet expectation?
All of the above, I think. I mean, I think it could be all of those. I mean, yeah, it's, both. It depends on the situation.
Now, which is heavier to you? Lost expectation, a lost potential or unmet expectation?
If you're asking me, unmet expectations, that's heavier to me than lost potential. Because to me, like, I can always get the potential. If I lost the potential, I'll always find it another way. But the other one's heavier to me. It is.
Man,
I don't like to
that's
let
a
anybody
tough
down.
one. That's a tough one.
Yeah, it is.
Because they're both pretty heavy.
Yeah.
We were talking about this before we hit record about, this blissful discontent. Yeah. And what we're saying with that is we're chasing our potential that's unknown.
Yeah.
And so missing your potential, that stings, but an unmet expectation, that's also something that's very tough to live with. Especially, we talked about this too, which is we all have something that we take for granted. And we all show up every day and we give it our best, and we run hard every single day. And oftentimes it's not for what I can get out of it, but I feel like if I don't do that, I might be letting others down. And there comes the unmet expectation of, like, if I don't do another podcast, if I don't do another keynote, if I don't do another workshop, if I don't take on another coaching client, am I letting that expectation down of what is in my heart to do, which is serve people? So that's a tough one for me. Yeah. They're both pretty heavy.
I think it's more of a question for you two, because you're kind of coming from two sides of that same coin. That you maybe are losing yourself
Mm-hmm.
to some degree for the sake of others, and you've,
Yeah.
you know, and you on the other hand are trying to serve more. So
Mm-hmm.
what is that final breaking point where you say, okay, you are taking care of yourself now? We just had that
Yeah.
conversation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Taking care of your health and making sure you're
Mm-hmm.
the best you can be. But you have to carve out time for that. You have
Yeah.
to carve out focus on that. You know, it isn't serving your clients necessarily. I mean, in the ultimate end, you're
Yeah.
going to be better for everybody. But that's an interesting point, because I struggle with both of those, probably to the same thing. Like, I'll go and go and go and give and give and give. And then it's like, I don't deserve to take care of myself because I should be giving more, to your point, because, you know, we share a faith, and it's like, well, you lay down your life. You do everything for everybody all the time. So where is that break for? It's interesting to see you both talk about that.
For me, I look at it, because I've had that discussion, right, with myself. And I said, I have 10 employees. You know, I have, 1,000 clients. I have kids. So these people, if I'm not at my best physically and mentally, I can't serve them. So that's why, like, because I used to struggle with that. Like, am I being selfish? Like, just putting all this time into this? But it's like, no, it's not. It's the way I serve, because if I'm not operating at my capacity or my 100%, then I'm not giving, that I'm not meeting that expectation I have of myself. So I look at expectation versus potential as expectation is something that can be defined. Potential is an unknown.
Right.
So that's why I think for me, the expectation is heavier, because I know what it is. Like, I know what the expectation on myself is, or what someone has of me. The potential, my potential is unknown. I'm constantly chasing it, and I'm constantly trying to improve and grow and chase the potential I believe I have, but I could be gone tomorrow. I don't know, but I know what the expectations of myself are. So that's why I think when I miss those, that's heavier on me.
What about missed opportunities? Because that's one that really seems to linger with me, and they always come down to relationship opportunities. And I look back at my life, and definitely business opportunities. I should have gone left instead of right. I should have made 300 of those instead of 50. You know, always reanalyzing the decisions and what could have been. I struggle with that even to this day. I mean, I find myself wandering and like not beating myself up, but really genuinely wondering what life would have been like, because I had enough of those moments, left or right moments, you know, and the ones that didn't fall to my best benefit, I question. I don't want to, but I find myself doing that. And now I know I can't be alone doing this. I mean,
no, I think it's where you are in the journey. Well, at least for me, I'll speak for myself. How I used to view missed opportunities is grossly different than how I view them today. You know, when I was a younger professional, you know, trying to outwork everybody, you know, striving for excellence, hated being in second place, and I missed an opportunity, I would dwell on it for months. It would eat at me. You know, I would beat myself up. Well, I should have just done this. I should have worked harder. I should have studied more. I should have. And I would let that erode my confidence. Now, what I've come to learn is wisdom really comes from a couple of places. It comes from failure and getting around people that have failed a lot.
Right.
Not that anybody sets out to fail, but there's something rich that comes through failure that you can't read in a book. You can't, it's caught, not taught. And so now I embrace a missed opportunity. Now I'm not telling you I like it, because I am a competitor. I hate to lose more than I like to win. You know, I got to eat a couple Tums and move on. But I will tell you, I've learned to embrace the failure, because success leaves a trail. And what we know about people that make the biggest impact is they celebrate failure. I mean, like the guy or not, but Elon Musk has built a company around a culture of incentivizing failure. Like, you're graded on the amount you fail. And if you don't hit failure quota, there's accountability. Why? Because we know that if you fail, you're going to learn. If you're stagnant and you're not doing much, hey, good news. If you don't play, you won't lose. And you can walk out of this life saying, I've never lost. That's not the goal. The goal is to fail, learn, take that, let it become wisdom, and now you have something to give. And so fail as much as you can, and fail fast and fail early. If I could go back, that's what I would tell my younger self is fail more, take bigger risks. But when everything is hanging on by a thread, it's like you don't have as much risk tolerance maybe as you do when you have stability.
So there was a moment that I second guessed myself pretty harshly, and it only wasn't until time kind of evolved before I was at peace with it. So long story short, 2010, I had a decision to make. Struggling economy, my business is definitely struggling. Do I go to California? There was an opportunity to meet with a particular musician and the manufacturer, get agreement, and maybe come home with a contract to make thousands of guitars of this particular musician. Or the same week was my son's baseball tournament, which I was supposed to manage the team, which I was really looking forward to. And I decided to stay home because I thought for whatever reason, I felt compelled by looking at my kid, and he would have been disappointed, and I had an obligation to manage I told these parents I was going to manage his team. I'm sorry, this is 2014, I think, if I remember correctly. Well, that artist signed with another guitar company there, and went on since that day. They're still selling them.
Oh.
And I would have had an opportunity for an exclusivity on that particular product for a period of years. So for the longest time, I would beat myself up that, that was one business decision I should have. But that summer of baseball with my son, in a group of a lot of great summers, that was the best possible time spent with my son. That is undeniably, if you ask him or you go and ask those parents, what was their favorite year of baseball? Many of them have told me it was that summer. And it wasn't until I got further away from the event before I started to see the real value was my time spent here. And I was able to let go of the lost revenue. Mm-hmm. So because it wasn't really lost because I didn't have it and misplace it. Mm-hmm. I just had the opportunity I didn't act on. Mm-hmm. And for someone who was so driven and fearless in making decisions, that beat me up really hard. Mm. And it took a long time to be at peace with that. Even though I knew it was the right thing in my head. Mm. It's still...
Yeah. See, I look at missed opportunities different. I can't remember who told me this. This is right when I was beginning my legal career. For the life, I can't remember who said it, but it was paraphrasing. Some of the best opportunities in life are the ones you miss. And it was kind of like you missed it for a reason.
No question.
And I've always just let that sit with me because it's like, okay, well, I didn't get that client or that deal. There was a reason why. And now it's just my job to reverse engineer why. It's either teaching me something, it's helping me avoid something. So I've always, because when I was younger, I'm still super competitive, but I'd get pissed if someone I thought was better than me or did something. And then it's like, I think it was the one lawyer I worked for when I started. He said some of the best opportunities are the ones you miss, the ones you don't get. Mm. And I said, okay, let me rethink this. And it was...
Because it teaches you.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because it's like you didn't get it for a reason. You weren't ready. It wasn't right. It wasn't right. You don't have what it takes yet. And he always said yet. Like you'll get there, but you're not there yet. And the world has a funny way of putting you where you're supposed to be. And it's just something I've kind of always. So when I miss an opportunity, I always say, okay, well, why did I miss it? Like what am I missing here? Did I read something wrong? Did I not understand this? Did I read the person wrong? And as I've gotten older and deeper, there are less and less opportunities I miss. If it comes to me, I usually know how to take advantage of it, but there are still ones that I miss. And when I look back historically at the ones that I did miss, there was definitely a reason I missed every single one of them. And it was a good reason.
It's great perspective.
Boy, if that isn't a multi-million-dollar word yet.
Yeah, it is.
Yet. That is
word.
powerful.
Yeah. Absolutely. I use it all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I tell my kids to say that you can't do it yet.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, because you're just saying you haven't learned how to do it yet.
Mm-hmm.
You haven't figured it out. But I think because again, I think people, we can be our own worst enemies
For sure.
by the way
Yep.
we say things to ourselves. The way that what's that one book? What you say when you talk to yourself. Like it's an older book. I can't remember who was the
Right.
author, but it's truly how you program your mind. I've always just said I can't do it yet. I haven't figured it out yet. And if you just think that way,
Napoleon Hill?
no, it was Shad something, I think his name. I can't remember the last name, but it's an older book. But he talks about how your brain's a computer, and what you say to yourself is a software. So how are you programming your computer?
Mm-hmm.
For some reason, it just resonated with me. It's like, okay, I just say I haven't learned how to do it yet.
Yeah.
And
You
it just makes it
program
very
negativity,
simple.
you get negativity back.
Exactly right. So it's something that's always stuck with me, and I just try and keep that positivity as much as I can. There are still days where I want to, jump out the window.
Yeah.
But hey, things happen.
Yeah, it's not like you crave losing.
No,
Right.
no, I hate losing.
You hate losing,
Right.
but you embrace the lesson.
Yeah, absolutely.
100%,
Yes.
Yeah.
So if someone beats me in Connect 4, I'm pissed. Like
Right.
that's a game.
Right.
I get pissed, but I'm gonna find a way to beat you
We
next
just
time.
bought a big one of those for the grandkids. Like did you ever see the big ones?
Oh, they're fun.
Oh, yeah.
They're fun. I love that
Life
game.
size.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that game.
Yeah.
Big's
game.
loud, especially when you're trying to sleep. Do you think regret is a form of self-deception? Maybe trying to rewrite the past with knowledge that you didn't have at that time.
The portion that you just said, rewrite the past, resonates with me.
Yeah.
I think it does tie into regret a little bit. I'll unveil some unhealthy habits of mine. It's a love-hate kind of deal, but rewrite the past, which we know you can't.
Mm-hmm.
But this, I'll show them. I'll show them. Whether it was not getting the promotion, and somebody who I thought was inferior got the promotion. Like, I'll show them. It's always had me double down on effort, double down on getting better. That may tie into rewriting the story. How I grew up, which, we've talked about a little bit in this show too. It's like I would have died to wear Air Jordans on hardwood when I played the game of basketball. I had to get the pro kids. You know what I'm talking
I
about?
remember.
Oh, yeah.
And but when I had a son, I'm going to rewrite the story.
Yeah.
And he is going to wear the J's if he wants to wear them. And it became this very unhealthy mission where I was trying to create things to rewrite my story. And I'll give you another example. I built this treehouse for my kids. And when I say a treehouse, I'm talking like you could Airbnb this thing. Like, it's a house in a tree, right?
Classic overachiever.
Oh man, why did I build it? Well, because I had to go down to the grocery store, pick up the pallets, cut them by hand. Didn't know what I was doing, and had this little 2-bit tree house when I was a kid.
Huh.
Well, when I had the ability, I'm like, I'm building a tree house, and these kids spent no time in this tree house. And I remember just like,
You didn't build that treehouse for them.
that's the whole story.
Yeah.
And my wife one day, after we're laying in bed, and I'm like, I can't believe how ungrateful. I can't believe, what kid wouldn't want a treehouse like this? And she says the $1 million question, which was this: did they ask for a treehouse? And I said, no. And she said, I think you're doing it again. You built that for 10-year-old Jeff. Trying to rewrite the past, trying to rewrite the story, right? And I think it can be healthy because, man, you can get some real results with that kind of drive.
Yeah.
But it can also be very unhealthy because you'll leave people on the side of the road to rewrite that story.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, that hits. That definitely.
That hits.
Yeah. It's still in the tree, too, by the way.
Well, you
We're
should
coming over.
Why don't you
I gotta see
Airbnb
this
it? Yeah.
treehouse.
I I mean, maybe I'll be your first tenant. I like tree houses.
I do too.
Let's do
It's
this.
like a whole thing.
Let's do this.
Party at Jeff's.
Yes, but I get that. I mean, there is a lot. Like as you're sitting there talking, I'm thinking like, okay, there's probably a lot of times I've done that in my life, trying to, rewrite things from the past, or just tell yourself a different story.
Mm-hmm.
Then I realized, okay, that story is why I am who I am.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why would I want to rewrite it?
Well,
It's just a different chapter.
oftentimes the issue is important to you,
Yeah.
but it doesn't. For a long time, both of my kids had no interest in music, and they had no interest in playing guitar because they grew up with it. They just it wasn't there.
Yeah.
And it wasn't I didn't try to nudge; it just wasn't there. And that struggled with me for a long time. They didn't even like music, and I would get a chance to go to some shows or something. Like, what do you mean you don't want to go to a Kiss concert? What do you mean? You don't look at this. I play it on TV. What do you mean you don't want to go to a Kiss concert? No interest.
Mm-hmm.
And then it wasn't until I waited a little while and I said, look, that's my thing. This whole thing was my thing.
Mm-hmm.
It was for them,
Yeah.
but it wasn't for them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that was a big aha moment for me.
Yeah.
And it was humbling. And I felt really bad that I realized I wanted them to do things I wanted them to do for me,
Mm-hmm.
not for them.
Mm-hmm.
And I struggled for a while because I loved baseball so much that I had to really make sure that my son really, truly loved baseball.
Mm-hmm.
And when he showed me he did, I still is he doing this because he thinks he's going to get some kind of favor with me?
Mm-hmm.
And I struggle with that. It's just me imposing my will on him.
Mm-hmm.
It's for a parent, it's a tough line to run.
It is.
It really is.
It is. It's a tough line to run.
Mm-hmm.
You're speaking. So basically, you spoke your emotions through an object you built for them
Mm-hmm.
that they never asked for.
Clearly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's one.
There's 5 other tree houses we don't know about yet.
That
He's
is
got a
one
whole-
example.
He's renting them out on the weekends.
But this whole thing reminds me of the last call we had, the mastermind call, where I can't remember who said it, but it was the golden rule and the platinum rule. And that,
Right.
I understood the concept, but the way he articulated it was very profound, and it sat with me. The golden rule was treat others how you want to be treated. Platinum rule was treat others how they want to be treated.
Mhm.
I was like, man,
Yeah,
that's a simple
First
way
time
to
I'd
say
ever
it.
heard that's
Mm.
when you shared that last week with
and
me.
it was so simple to
So
say, and it's like, and I've been saying that all the time. 'Cause it's so true. Like, we were having discussion in the office about communicating,
Mm-hmm.
and I said, you have to communicate to people in the way they receive information,
Mm-hmm.
not the way you want them to receive it or the way
That's right.
you receive it. That's why there's disconnect, because
right.
you are communicating the way you think they want to hear
Of
it, or
course.
because based on your perspective. Think about it from their shoes. Like, how do they receive information? Like, I tell people, I said, if you haven't figured this out in the office yet, you guys are all blind. Like, give me the issue. This is what I need. I will ask for data. If you come in and give me a 30-minute monologue about a situation, then the questions at the end, you've lost me after 30 seconds.
Right.
So come in and say, hey, this is going on. I need help with this. Okay, I'll ask a question. But if you come in and say, hey, I was talking to so-and-so, and there was, we were doing this one thing, and then this person came in. I'm like, what are we here for?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like, to me, it's brevity. Other people
Right.
want the story. So it's
Right.
like, you have to understand,
Your
how to-
audience.
yeah, you really do. And people, I think it's a simple concept, but no one gets it. No one gets it. Or very few people get it.
That's valid. Like, you don't put your favorite snack on a fishing hook and throw it in the water.
Right. That's another good.
You
That
put
is
a worm
right.
on a hook because
That was
that's what
another
they
good one.
eat.
Right.
I'm using that tomorrow, Jeff. I'm
That's
just telling you
great.
right
It's all
now.
yours,
In my
brother.
my
It's all
attorney
yours.
meeting, I'm using that. I'm saying, hey guys, do you put Cheez-Its on the fishing hook, or do you put a worm? Like, what
You
does
put
the-
a worm. Why?
Yeah.
Well, that's what they eat.
That's exactly that. Yeah, but that's it. We're egocentric by nature.
Yes.
Human
Yes.
beings. We always think about it from our perspective. It's just getting yourself to shift. It's hard, but once you can do it, it makes people such better communicators. I really believe that.
Okay, speaking of ego,
Okay.
last sub question here under the topic of regret. Can regret exist without ego? Or is it always tied to how we want to be seen by others and or ourselves? Can ego exist without? I'm sorry. Can regret exist without ego?
I think it's the posture. I think regret can exist without ego if there's one key ingredient, which is forgiveness. Regret without forgiveness can be detrimental. I would go as far as to say that if you live too long with regret, you'll never reach your fullest potential.
Yeah.
If you
That's
allow
strong.
forgiveness, that is where the healing starts. And so I think you can have regret without ego as long as there's a level of forgiveness. Because I think often we think about forgiveness as, if I offend Rocco, I'm going to seek Rocco's forgiveness. But I think the most forgiveness that people ignore is forgiving themselves. Back to the earlier quote.
Right.
You know, allow myself to forgive myself of the bad decisions I made when I was in survival mode. I lived with that regret for years, and it festered at me. It ate at me. It bubbled up all kind of bad habits and insecurity and lack of confidence. But when you forgive and you say, that's what I did, it's not who I am, I don't think that's ego. And confidence comes from that place.
100%.
And one of my favorite quotes is, if you lack confidence in self, you're twice defeated in the race of life, but with confidence you have won before you start.
Right.
Yep.
That's
If you have regret without forgiveness, you lack confidence. But if you have confidence, it's the eighth wonder of the world.
Yeah.
Oh, I'd so agree with that.
That's so
Yeah, I would. I mean, I would agree completely. I think you're spot on what you said. It's truly forgiveness is the key element, and I think that's what people have the hardest time doing because
Absolutely.
it's an emotional thing to do. Like you have to get deep with yourself. I think forgiveness is, especially like type A entrepreneurs. Like we're I have a plaque in my office, you know, Marcus Aurelius's quote, you know, be tolerant with others and strict with oneself. Like that's kind of how I live my life. Like, and I have a hard time forgiving myself. I've learned to do it over the years. That was the hardest thing for me to learn because it's an emotional thing. And I think part of us thinks it's weakness,
It's true.
you know?
It's true.
Did you get an advance copy of my essay over here? Is that why you went to self-forgiveness? Because that was the next topic.
No, I'm just living my life.
He's
over here.
intuitive. He's intuitive. He's reading our mail.
He might be. He might be. Let me ask you this. How do you differentiate between holding yourself accountable and being too hard on yourself?
I literally
How do you find
talk
that line?
to my best friend about this, and I'm like, if you looked at what I'm listening to on a daily basis, you'd think, is she okay? Because half of them are like, you're wonderful and awesome. And the other are like, get your shit together. I mean, it's like there's no in between.
The extremes.
But it's kind of, you know, that it's just, I think where you're at every single day, like I'm either nurturing myself or I'm like, yeah, you got a little sloppy there, Lynn. You need a little bit of correction. So
How do you
holding
manage
myself
that?
accountable.
Like, how do you manage that? Or don't you, or you're still figuring it out?
You know, I think I'm aware, and that's where maybe the self-awareness comes in. You know the areas you're not strong in right now. Like I'm just propping up Rocco because he's got this health journey going on, and I know that's an area that I am not strong in at this moment. I can make all the excuses, but we all have 24 hours. If it was priority, it would be going on. That's all I'm saying. It's not an excuse. But then there's other areas where I'm excelling, and then it's like, okay, I want to get stronger in those areas. I want to figure that piece out. So there's an accountability to myself, but then I also, you know, we're in relationship. You know, I'm reaching out saying, hey, you know, I'm struggling with this. Can you help me get this corrected, or can you help me get on track with this? So I'm not working with your trainer down there. Although the abs, I might want the abs. Just saying.
but to your point, like I think you bring up some interesting points because I look at it. there's a couple ways. You said, what is it? How do I hold myself accountable but not be too hard on myself?
Mm-hmm.
So I do both. I'm hard on myself and I try and hold myself accountable. And the way I've learned, so part of my mentoring some of the younger attorneys and younger people in my office is teaching them how to organize their day, organize their time, prioritize. Yet they look at me and they're like, you look like someone's a bomb went off on your desk. I said, because I've been doing this long enough that I know how to do things. When I first, and I was going back, I said, when I first started, left corporate America, started my firm, my calendar was color-coded. Like every hour of the day was red, I was writing. Blue, I was, doing legal work. Green were meetings. So I had to visually see it till I built the habit where it's automatic now. So I can go in my office, I know where everything is. I know exactly what needs to be done. Now, but there's other parts of my life where I'm very disciplined. It's the same routine. So I look at, I hold myself, I'm hard on myself in certain areas, like when I'm building disciplines. But once I get the habits in place, then it's just holding myself accountable. I know when I miss things, I got to hold myself accountable. Don't do it again. Or, so I'm going to drop the ball every once in a while. We're human. That's part of it. But there's the balance I find is, I put a discipline in place for an area that I'm struggling in. And I'm religious with discipline, like truly, maniacal with it. Until I get to a point where I'm like, okay, I don't need those things anymore. Then it becomes automatic and I just keep replacing it. So that's kind of how I've always lived my life. Because I try and explain that to people in the professional sense. And they're like, I don't understand. I said, well, you just got to build it. Like if you do it long enough, it becomes automatic. But it's about the consistency.
You got to build the habit.
Well, it's consistency. People want the intensity. Like it's like, no, you got to just do it for 90 days. Just do the same thing for 90 days.
Repetition.
Yeah, and that's how I've always, I'm hard on myself during that time because I'm just like, okay. And then once I get past that point, that's when the accountability comes.
Well,
that's how I look at it.
At that point, though, you don't have the same. It doesn't become as hard anymore. It's routine.
It's routine, but that's where the accountability comes in because I don't have I'm not following that same discipline structure.
Got it.
So now it's like I got to hold myself accountable because I know this is stuff that needs to be done. I just don't have a system in place like I used to get me to do those things. It's just kind of how I've always operated.
That's good. I'm learning here. I have to abstain from this question because I am not qualified to answer it. This is
bullshit.
I will go on record as saying, this is my top 3 biggest opportunity.
Okay.
By far.
Learning to forgive yourself?
No, being too hard on myself.
Oh, yeah. Welcome to the club. It's a big one.
I haven't figured it out. It's a love-hate because the love part is it produces. Mm-hmm. The hate part is it's never good enough. Mm-hmm. It's just never good enough. If it takes 22 hours to do it, then that's what you do. Mm-hmm. That's ridiculous. Mm-hmm. It is ridiculous. It is ridiculous.
Yeah, right.
Right? So I haven't figured that out. It's an area that I need to get better at. And the real problem with me is I know what to do. I know what to do. I haven't been able to get there to get that into a healthy place from a mindset that, and I'm not saying anybody is settling with good enough, right. But it's it's never good enough. It doesn't matter what it is. And so I need to do a better job celebrating the wins and having gratitude. And
don't you think all that's the entrepreneur's quandary, though, right? I mean, never, working until it's done, regardless of others or the time constraints.
That can get very, very unhealthy, though. And that's my biggest opportunity is to create a little more balance in that area because it doesn't always have to be, I'm losing. I'm working from behind. Stop and celebrate a win. Yeah. Right. And I'm not saying I don't ever do that, but it can get unhealthy, especially when there's people around you that you care about. Mm-hmm. When you were talking about taking the summer, and we were talking about missed opportunity. I saw that as a seized opportunity. Mm-hmm. What you did.
Yeah. It turned out to be, but I had to realize it. I had to realize the weight of what I did and how important that was for my son and our relationship and those parents. The whole thing was a huge win. But again, I'm a sole proprietor. You have, money's a big component. Money's the marker. Money's the gauge, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it was a tough chunk to. And there was no guarantee I would have got that contract, but I would have had a great shot had I been there.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So, again, for me, it's always taken time for things to get a little distant before I forgive myself.
Yeah.
It's hard to forgive right away,
It's so important.
especially when the blunder is real fresh.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I've had a lot.
Especially when success is tied to things that matter to you.
Yeah.
Or you think matter at that time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because then you feel like you're letting people down. And it's like, man, I could have done better. I could have, maybe I could have done this. I could have done that.
Mm-hmm.
And I always like my go-to always is like, I'm doing this. I want my family to be better.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm often reminded that like, they don't care as much about it as me.
Mm-hmm.
Like nobody's hungry over here. Like,
Mm-hmm.
Right.
but that's kind of my
Right.
trump card.
Mm-hmm.
Doing it for the kids. Are you really?
You're not
Are you
talking
really?
about that.
Right.
I mean,
To me,
Are you
it's-
looking for validation, Hancher? Like,
Right.
let's get
Well,
real.
I mean, I used to say to myself that I grew up in such a hard circumstance and we had so very little, and we had, and this was against us, and these opportunities weren't there. I would build myself up so that my expenditures on my children, in my brain, were justified.
Mhm.
And in terms, all I was doing was making their life too easy, not challenging them enough.
Yep.
And when I unwound my life in reading journals and so forth, my childhood wasn't full of material things, but no one I loafed with and no one around me it was either. And my parents made sure I was, that I was well kept. And so when you step back from it, did I have everything I wanted? Absolutely not. But did I have everything I needed?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I did. I did.
Yeah.
And that's just being honest with oneself. And again, it takes a level of humility to do that. And humility didn't find me till later in life.
Mhm.
Just didn't.
Yeah. It's profound.
Yeah, self-forgiveness is a thing. I mean, have you ever found that not forgiving yourself held you back in business?
I'd probably say yeah. I mean, there were probably opportunities that were right in front of me that I didn't take. And kind of going back, I didn't take it for a reason, but part of that reason was I was maybe too cautious because I made a mistake in the past. And okay, well, I'm not over that mistake. I'm not ready to jump back in yet. Obviously, I didn't take the opportunity for a reason. There was a reason to it, but like in that moment, there were definitely times I know in my head that I hadn't gotten past something from the past.
You were still in your head.
I was still in my head.
Yeah.
It prevented me from taking that leap. And that's very unlike me because I'd just jump off a bridge and figure it out. And there were a few times in my life I'm like, wait a minute, you might want to rethink this, dude. Like you screwed up a bunch in the past in kind of this same area. Like let's slow down a little bit. So yeah, it's. I mean, I
That's interesting to hear you say that
Yeah.
because I did not have you pegged that was ever an issue for you.
No.
yeah,
I really
no,
didn't.
I mean,
Yeah.
No, it absolutely. I mean, there are plenty. I probably make more mistakes than anybody. Like, I probably failed more than anybody. I just move fast and clean them up and move on from them. That's just what I've done. But there were definitely times in my life where opportunities were right in front of me that I stopped myself from engaging in because of something that I had done prior to.
Okay.
Absolutely.
That speaks.
Yeah.
I remember I went to this entrepreneur symposium.
Mhm.
It was actually right by your building.
Okay.
I was probably 21, 22 years old. I'm a blue collar truck driver at the time, but I wanted to make waves. But I didn't know what I was doing. So I saw this ad for an entrepreneurial symposium. And I'm like, we're going. And we paid the big fee of $200 and got in the room, and they were selling these vending franchises, like gumballs.
Yeah, I remember
Whatnot.
I
that.
had one of those.
And,
Back in the day,
I mean, it was a turnkey operation.
Yeah, so they say.
And it was, they were letting you in because you were in the room today. They were letting you in on this for $700. And you're walking away with a gumball machine. And all you got to do is call this number Monday. They'll give you discounts on future machines. They'll give you a playbook. They'll give you scripts, sales scripts, all this stuff. And I'm like, we're doing this. Like, I'm going to have these things all over town. So I call on Monday. Disconnected. No number.
Oh,
They packed
no.
that U-Haul and they're on to the next city. And I had a $700 gumball machine. Now, to your point, like
Yeah.
fear, because when $900 is all you have,
Yeah.
and you take that kind of a risk,
Yeah.
and then you're staring your wife in the face, and she's like, "Dude, I could have told you." Like, but here I am being Mr. Risk Taker.
Yeah.
Right.
How many deals I passed by after that early on?
I can see why.
Real estate
Yeah.
deals.
Same here. Yep.
I used to flip cars. Now I was like kind of scared to do it. I had to stockpile a lot more cash to get my confidence back.
Yeah.
So 100% been there over a stinking
Well, some
gumball machine.
expensive.
I
Shysters.
I bought one of those gumball machines, not from there, but just you're saying that sort of me and two of my fraternity brothers were like, we're gonna buy vending machines. We're
Right.
gonna make a boatload of money. Because I'm like, I'm a lawyer. You guys are accountants. We can figure this out. Had like two of them. Put them in coffee shops.
I think I made my money back on my friends.
The funny part is, we forgot that we had the one in the coffee shop, and they tore the building down.
No, no.
And it just we're like, oh, there was a gumball machine there. We forgot that one was there. We're like, I guess we.
Gone.
It was gone. It was in Mount Lebanon too. It was in one of the coffee shops over there, and they tore it down. I think they put a CVS in there.
Oh.
And I remember we were like, oh shit, we haven't like cleaned out the gumball machine in a while. Drove up there, I'm like, wait a minute. This is where it was, right? The building was just leveled.
Oh,
Level.
someone got
Oh,
your
no.
gumball machine.
Oh
before
yeah,
you.
I mean, I'm
oh yeah.
sure, but
It's
no
sitting
one
in
called.
someone's living room right now.
Yeah, I hope they enjoy that stale gum. That was like 15 years ago.
All right, we're gonna make a left turn.
Okay.
So this is more of a philosophical discussion, aren't they all around here? Okay, so need you to unburden your mind for a second from reality. Just taking the question as you hear it. Let's say next week, humans on Earth are shown that, without any doubt or hesitation, they're definitely shown that a discovery has been made, and we're living in what scientists, I like to say, a simulation. And so what the religious tenets have said and all the things that, are ideas spread out throughout humanity are nullified now because we're living on we are basically a 2D smear on a black hole, and our creator is either a more intelligent being than us, or we're basically just computer code and an image for someone else's reality.
Wow.
If that's what we were shown, and it was definitive, and it may take a period of time for all humans to agree, but let's just say we're shown that. And here's my question. Society, does anything change? Would you live your day-to-day life any differently, knowing that's our reality and our origin? Would society live differently, or would it be business as usual?
Society would definitely live differently. I don't know if I would. I'm sure to a degree that I would. Society definitely would. I believe there's something in the human spirit that we call conviction. There's conviction. It's a moral code, right? Whether you believe in God, you don't, like there's a level of moral code and there's a level of conviction. that's in the human spirit.
Do you believe that?
I do.
That's not. Is it just something you feel, or is it a conviction you have?
It's a conviction I have. Yeah. I do believe that. And I think if that truth came about, a great portion of that's removed.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's gone over, you know. Now, I don't think that's going to pertain to everybody, because I think there's going to be a certain amount of people that just want to be good human beings and still serve and live their life. But for those that were kind of on the fringe, I think it's a get out of jail free card.
Yeah, if it were more as you've described it, what benefit would there be for any type of connection at all? Wouldn't you just be in it for yourself? Wouldn't all of that go away? And it's just like, I'm just going to take care of me. And there is no moral obligation to anyone. There's no responsibility. There's no consequences. There's no accountability. It's like me first, me only.
Mm-hmm.
But the question I have, so flipping it back to you, we learn this. What happens to the rules of society? Does someone say that they don't matter anymore? Because we're still all living under rules. There's still laws. There's still, police. There's peacekeepers. There's the military. Does all that go away day one?
See,
or is it martial law?
Well, right. That's the question. I think there's so many variables.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting, because there's going to be immediately a portion of society that pushes back on all laws, because just like you said, they're going to feel like, why should I obey anything? I mean, our laws in this country are close to being the Ten Commandments. Mm-hmm. We don't have them on the wall anymore, but generally, there's religious tenets which are telling us things to do and not to do, mm-hmm. right? And we've extrapolated them in modern day society, right? So if the belief structure goes away because we've been shown another reality now, mm-hmm. the consequences of living a good life or a bad life that most humans have, tied to their religion, could go away. Mm. So your actions don't hold consequences now.
Here's where I disagree slightly. So I think what you're saying, what I'm taking from it, is we're default bad. Because if we remove consequences, all hell breaks loose. So you're saying our default is that we are bad people.
That's my thought. Yes.
I completely disagree. I think babies are born a blank slate. The environment makes them good or bad. I think human beings, kind of like you said, we have a moral code. We are born to do good things. I feel like children aren't born to hurt other people, to do harm, to rob, pillage, steal. Society does that. Survival does that, right? It's the societal pressures that cause people to go off the deep end, or outside of the boundaries. I think a potential thing that could happen is you do that, society gets better, because people realize there's no real. We have to govern one another. So if I want to survive in this world, I have to treat others in a way, because there's no one else guarding the rules. There's no one else making sure shit doesn't break, or the hell doesn't break loose. We have to self-govern. Maybe it becomes more of a utopian society.
I mean, there's societies that give us glimpses of this now, mm-hmm. that transcends religious beliefs. Mm-hmm. Like you look at Japan. They have such a high code of honor.
Yeah.
Like honor is everything mm-hmm. in that country. Tsunami hits that country, wipes it out. There's no looting.
Right.
Yeah.
There's no theft.
Right.
There's
mm-hmm.
no. Now look, you have a riot in Portland,
mm-hmm.
and people are going into Walgreens and jewelry stores and wreaking havoc because mm-hmm. there was a breakdown in the standard.
Right.
But in Japan, when there's a breakdown in the standard, nothing changes.
Right.
Yep.
Now, I'm sure there's a percentage of bad people in Japan,
sure.
But overall, they have such a high standard of honoring one another and honoring mm-hmm. people. They don't take the bait. They truly are putting others before themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Are they, or is that just the culture?
It's definitely the culture.
That has been instilled on them through
it's an
generations.
Expectation. Yeah.
Whereas, back to your point, they're not bad or good. It's just mm-hmm. this is what the entire society is run on.
Yeah.
But I'm debating the fact that you're saying if we come in and learn tomorrow, this is a simulation. Why does that change? Why does that honor go away? I don't believe the honor goes away.
I think not with everybody, but I do think there'll be a portion of society
For
that
sure.
will feel unbridled and untethered and will yield to the temptation of greed and go out and take and create
sure.
lawlessness in society
But that
at
happens now.
at a scale that we're not dealing with now.
But I don't know. I disagree. Because I think we only see what we choose to see as people. You only see what's shown to you. You don't go out and seek the bad. You look at things that are brought to your attention. There's probably a lot of bad shit that happens out there that none of us in this room know or see on a day-to-day basis. Right? So I think that's already happened. There are many people in this country that have no religious belief. They don't believe in the government. They don't believe in laws. They govern themselves. That's just their beliefs. We don't see it because it's not in my social media feed. It's not who I hang around with. You hear about it occasionally. But I think, yeah, there may be a slight amplification of those segments of society. I don't think all hell will break loose. I actually think there's an opportunity to improve society when
Long term.
Yeah, and again, it's not about religion or non-religion. It's truly about when people realize that there is a different way of doing things, a different way of living, and a way to govern ourselves so we all survive and thrive. I think you may see some of the best of people.
I agree. And I also agree that there's going to be a percentage of people that go off the rails.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
But I do believe that good triumphs.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you look even historically, and I know we're talking about, you know, a hypothetical thing happening, but Rocco's still Rocco, Lynn's still Lynn,
Mm-hmm.
Eric's I'm still me. And I just think there's more good people than there are bad.
Mm-hmm.
I truly believe that.
Yeah.
And that might mean that we have to, you know, puff our chest out and say, no, that's not who we are.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's no different as leaders building a company.
Yeah.
You know, you have people that come into your company and they are toxic and they
Mm-hmm.
don't act the right way. You carry high standards. You don't apologize for a high standard,
Mm-hmm.
but you begin to hold people accountable. And you say things like, that's not who we are
Yeah.
at this firm.
Yep.
That's not who we are at this agency.
Right.
I think the world steps up and good human people say, that's not who we are
Mm-hmm.
as earthlings
Yeah.
or wherever the heck we are in this.
I
That's not
agree.
who we are, right? I mean, we don't act that way.
Right.
And I think good triumphs.
Yeah, and I agree. I think too when you talk about the simulation, right, and we're conflating it, we're piecing religion into it. There are a million different religions in this world, right? No, who's to say you're right? So
Right.
we're all living under different belief structures. You know, I'm a Christian. I grew up Catholic. I believe in God. I believe in that, right? Other people, you know, the Quran, you know, Judaism, Buddhism. There's also who's right. None of us know till we leave this earth.
Mm-hmm.
So if you come in and say you're all wrong, well, we're already saying everyone but me is wrong, right? So if you look at it that way,
In
if
essence.
yeah, I mean,
essence,
truly,
right.
if you're looking at it from a purely objective standpoint, if I have a religious belief and I believe this is the creator, and everybody else has different creators, in my mind, I'm not gonna argue against you. You have your belief, but I believe I'm right. You're wrong. That's just a different belief. So if you come in and say, "Hey, you're all wrong," okay, well, so I already think everybody else is wrong. So
Right.
That's true.
I mean, that's how I look at it. Like it's really
That's basically what you're saying
I mean,
without saying.
Right.
Right, yeah,
Exactly.
I mean,
That's
really.
exactly right.
Yeah, you're wrong. You're wrong.
Yeah.
You're wrong.
You're wrong.
I mean,
Exactly.
when you talk to people that have real religious convictions, and there are, you know, everybody looks at it differently. They'll say, "Well, that's not right." I'm like, "Well, how do we know?
How do you know?
How do we know? Like, I have my belief in my faith, but I'm not going to go around and say that religion's wrong, that belief structure's wrong. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
No one. I have no knowledge of that, so I can't say it's wrong. So if you just come in and say, "Guess what, guys? You're all wrong," I'm like, "Okay." I mean, that's what I've been saying this whole time, anyways, except for me. No, I'm just wrong.
Not telling me anything new.
Yeah, I mean that's where I think I'm simplifying, but I think there it may not be as bad as we think. That's just me.
Have you all seen the movie The Purge?
No.
The Purge was a movie. There was a couple of them made. I only saw the first one because it's very disturbing. Basically, in a alternate universe, there was an Earth, and once a year they permit a day or two or three where the laws are all taken down, and humans can just, the idea of purge being, a certain amount of population will be eliminated because there's no, But I think the potential for some of that nonsense is there.
I mean, we thought they was coming with Y2K.
Right.
And,
Right. Yeah.
I mean, the pandemic got a little shaky there for
Yeah,
a
I
minute.
mean,
Just-
yeah.
My hometown for sure.
I mean, people are going to do bad shit. I mean, that's just. I think. Look, to your point. Like, yeah, there's probably a little bit more potential, but I don't think if someone comes down and says, "Oh," because I feel like half the country right now believes in aliens and that we're in a simulation.
Right, exactly.
Like, I mean, there's so much. There's. I've seen
They really
way
believe it.
They're curious.
Yeah.
They're curious. So curiosity is the first step.
Because
to
we haven't
belief.
been shown any facts.
But I'm saying is you can't believe something unless you're curious about it. Curiosity is the first step to forming a belief. You have to be curious. So these people, there's a lot of curious people.
Well,
If you look at what's trending on YouTube, those are probably in the top 10 trending topics.
Agreed. But how can you have conviction and belief in something and then simultaneously also admit that you don't know? Like you're saying,
Faith.
you have
That's exactly right.
you
It's
saying
faith.
you have
It's
conviction that I believe this is how it is.
It's faith.
But I also am open-minded enough to believe that I really don't know. So I could be wrong, but I still believe this is the way it is. But I could be wrong. Like, there's to me, there's a dichotomy there.
I mean,
faith.
it's the infamous, those that believe without seeing are the ones with the greatest faith. That's what it's all rooted in. It's all rooted in faith. And, that's not to say
And
like...
what does this scientific revelation do to that base of faith and thus the moral fabric of the world?
Two thoughts occur to me. If you've ever read Atlas Shrugged, and yes, I have that tome. You have you're very wealthy, you have the poor, but then you have this middle class who's us. We're not ruling the world, but we're working. We're improving life. We're in community. And all we basically want to do is go create our own utopia. I want Rocco's in my life and Jeff's in my life. And I don't need the people that are takers. And I don't need the people that are rulers. I don't need those sides. I need to be here. So that's one thing. And then to your point, Rocco, you talked about self-governance. And I would talk to each of my kids as they got their driver's license. And I'd be like, hey, are you free to drive a car? Oh, yeah. Are you? Do you need a license? Yep. You need an inspection on your car in some states? Yep. You need to go the speed limit? Yep. You need a driver's license plate? Yep.
Insurance.
You need to... Right. And I'm like, are you free to drive a car? Nope. You're asking someone for permission for each one of those. So I would get irritated at that because I do feel like there's too much legislation. I love you, Rocco.
Yeah.
You know.
No, listen, I agree.
Too much.
I don't legislate.
But how long would it take? I shouldn't, first of all, need to get a permit to put a bathroom in my house. It's my house. Why can't I just put a bathroom in my house?
Then don't get one.
Well, you know what I'm saying? Legally, we're supposed to.
that.
And I'm like, why are we, but how long would it take for a bad plumber to be out of business? Well, Jim plumbed my bathroom and it flooded. The second time Jim plumbs a bathroom and it floods, Jim's probably out of business.
Yeah.
So we're doing, we're going with Kurt, who actually knows how to do it. It would be self-correcting. There would be a self-correction in there.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I think so too.
Yeah.
And I think we've seen that throughout history, that there is self-correction, and consistently good prevails. That doesn't mean there's not challenges and there's not adversity and it's not tested. It's always tested, but I do believe the human spirit, if I'm looking at the entire human race, it's good. That doesn't mean evil doesn't exist. There is plenty.
Yeah.
And as a matter of fact, we're told that it's only going to increase.
Is it? But is it good? Is the majority good because society was designed that way
What do you mean
a million
designed
years
that way?
ago, a couple 100,000 years
It
ago.
depends on what you believe.
Right.
Well,
Well, define what you mean by design
so
that way.
what? So what if? Again, we don't know.
Okay.
What if religion was created by the affluent or whatever, however society ranked? What if it was created to keep the masses in order?
Genius.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah,
Well,
absolutely.
Genius.
Of course
If
it
that's
is.
true.
I kind of know where this goes because I've had. But what I'm saying is, I think religion and faith are different.
True.
They are.
Religion is the structure, faith is the belief, and this is the problem
Yes.
I've always had with
So good.
organized religion.
Yep.
It is a structure of rules that are put in place by people that say these are the rules to follow.
Mm.
Faith is believing in a higher power. Faith is my belief in God, in Jesus, in the Bible, and other things that happen. That is my belief. That is my faith, right? That's why I got away from the Catholic Church as I grew up, because there were too many rules.
Mm.
I'm like, why are all of these rules in place? Who says these are the rules? And no one can really articulate to me why. When the Bible's been translated 100 different times, we don't know truly. Religion is a structured organization. Faith is completely different in my mind. So
You're
Well
saying
said.
religion is man-made.
Perfect.
religion, the structure, yes, because that's how I define religion. Religion is a construct around a certain faith or belief. Religion is the construct put in place around this. The faith is what matters. The belief is what matters. Religion is what people put around it.
Mm.
Yes, there was probably some level to control the masses. Like, hey, we can use people's faith
Right.
to control them by putting these rules of religion around it.
The Church of England is a primary
Yeah,
example.
exactly.
100%.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what happened.
Wouldn't you say, as far as our knowledge goes, doesn't it go back to the Ten Commandments? I mean, it all kind of starts there for the public rules.
I mean, it depends on what you believe. I
Mhm.
mean, for the most part, it starts with the New Testament. Not to say that
Mhm.
the Ten Commandments aren't important,
Mm-hmm.
but it's the Bible calls it a new covenant,
Mm-hmm.
meaning like I have abolished that. Not that it's not important, but there's a new way.
Mm-hmm.
And I love what you said about
Mm.
faith and religion,
Yeah.
because religion is do this.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Faith is ask, seek, knock.
hmm
Right.
hmm
Ask, seek, knock. Like
Yeah.
you don't need a service to do that. You don't need a ceremony to do that.
Yes.
That's intimacy.
That's right.
That's the challenge.
And that's exactly the debate I
Absolutely.
get into people. I say everybody's relationship with God is different. Just because I don't read the Bible every day does not mean I'm a less faithful person than someone else. I believe I have more faith than most. It's just I express it in my relationships different.
Right.
I think there are, and I know a lot of people in circles I've been in that are business people that I have a problem with how they use religion
Mm.
as their marketing.
That's well
And
said.
that to me is
It's a turnoff.
disgusting. It's a turnoff,
It's
and I could see
terrible.
it from a mile away because I
Right.
deal with these people in business,
Mm.
and I say what you preach is not how you operate. To me,
Right.
it's like
Mm.
I operate exactly how I believe. I'm in front of people, behind closed doors. I'm the
Integrity.
same person. It's
Pretty
integrity.
transparent.
I'm not-
Consistent.
exactly. I'm not
Absolutely.
perfect. I make mistakes all
Yeah, I mean,
the time.
going to church doesn't make you a Christian more than being in a garage makes you a mechanic.
Well,
Right.
and that's what I used
Like-
to always say,
Yeah.
because growing up, like you would see these people that I knew were just shitheads, but because they
Yeah.
went to church every Sunday,
oh
like,
yeah,
all the stuff I did
I'm
last week
good.
doesn't matter.
Right.
I'm
I
good.
clean the slate. Let's do it again this week. I mean, that's not how it works.
Nope.
So that's kind of what turned me off of organized religion, but it also grew my faith stronger because there's just so many things in life you can't explain.
Right.
Mhm.
Like it's things that happened in my life that I just can't explain, other than something higher having their hand in it.
Mm.
So I've just developed that stronger faith.
Same. That's me too.
That's
Yeah.
exactly
And I think
the
the
story.
ultimate inspection
hmm
is fruit.
Right.
You can't look at a tree and call it an apple tree if it's growing oranges.
Right. Right.
You can't.
Right.
So we're all going around.
Our government can.
They will, yeah.
Right.
But that's
It
what we're
identifies
doing.
You've seen 2020. You've seen the world since 2020, right?
Yeah, but that's the point. Is
Mhm.
like you can't parade around a fish symbol. And what would Jesus do on your bumper?
Right.
and not have fruit that comes from that.
Right.
Like,
Who did I just?
I'm not saying we got to
Which
be
one
perfect
of you
here,
in
but
my
Yes.
conversation did I say this to this week? It was one of you on one of our calls. I was like, some of the people I despise doing business with the most are those who
oh,
slap that label on it.
Oh,
I'm like,
Yeah.
oh,
but your business is terrible. You're
Yeah.
sloppy about running
Yes.
it. You are not growing. You're not
Yes.
integrous. You don't follow
Yep.
through. You break your promises. I'm like, these are the, so that's
Yes.
where I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. But your integrity, that's like,
Yeah.
I heard the story about Formica,
Yeah.
which is a substance.
Mhm.
Top to bottom, it's the exact same. So there's an integrity to that
Mhm.
that I feel we all operate in.
Yeah.
Not that we're perfect.
No, not at all.
But you're right. I'm
Yeah.
the same person on Monday
Yeah.
morning as I am on Friday night, as I
Yeah.
am on whatever.
Yep.
There isn't really a change in who I am
Yeah.
as a person or my character.
No, I would agree completely.
All right, so let me ask you this. This is an interesting one. How would your priorities shift if you fully accepted that your successes and failures might be pre-programmed in this simulation?
Say that one more time.
Okay, how would your priorities shift if you fully accepted that your successes and failures might have already been pre-programmed in this simulation? To
predestined.
Yeah, to extend that, right. Like Rocco and I have talked about time travel for a while, and I always kind of like kid him about this. There's a theory that the past is still there and the future is still there, and we're just moving through it. Like if you take a loaf of bread, right, and every time you slice the bread is a moment, and we're just moving through this endless loaf of bread, but it's already there. The future's all there, the past is all there, and we are just moving through it. Same thing. Everything is already created, and the outcome is already predetermined. We don't know what it is that creates the free will or the illusion of free will. How would your goals and successes, how would you view them? Even your failures, if you already knew it was predetermined, would it take some of the zeal out?
Yes, it destroys societies. Hence, communism, socialism, all these,
And
they're disincentivized.
And you don't think that would also contribute to a dysfunctional society?
Wait, so hold on. So let me clarify something. So you're saying how would my habits or how would I operate differently knowing my goals and successes has been predetermined?
Correct.
Okay, so I look at it like that wouldn't change anything. 'Cause I don't.
I think you said it earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know the future. I'm just going to keep operating the way I am. If it's predetermined, whatever happens is going to happen. It's not going to change. I'm not going to be like, I'm just going to sit on my ass and do nothing now.
Right.
'Cause
That's what I was
still
saying.
because I don't know. I have no idea. If someone says,
Right.
unless they tell me
That's a good answer.
this is what your life is going to be and this is all the shit you're going to do, then okay, that could change something. But if it's like, hey, all the stuff you did, that was all pre-written. Like that was just what. Okay, cool. I'm still going to keep going. I'm not going to stop because I don't know what the future holds unless someone tells me.
And you said it earlier, like you have a belief that everything happens for a reason.
Yeah, right.
Missed opportunity. It wasn't the right time. It wasn't meant to be. But even if I knew like this whole thing is programmed out and every loss is calculated, every failure, every win, if I didn't know the future, it wouldn't change much because I would feel compelled to still run the race.
Right. Move
And-
forward.
Because it
strive.
really wouldn't be much different than what you're living in now.
Right. Well, there are
No.
people, back to extremes in religion that believe that now.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't, I feel like, are your steps ordered? Yeah. Do you have free will?
Yeah.
You do. That's the chasm that we all have to cross, is that we have to make decisions, even if that was true. Like you still have to make the decision that I'm going to do my best.
Because, like Rocco said, you don't know.
You really
As
don't
sit
know.
here, you don't know the future.
Right.
Right.
You don't
Absolutely
know.
So just like whether or not it was, it doesn't matter if little green men did this or it was God, it doesn't matter. And whether
Exactly.
it's predetermined or not, it's still an unknown for your existence.
That's
Right.
right.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I wouldn't change much.
As long as we still have a conscience.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, if you paint a scenario where that's gone,
Right.
So my head's gonna blow up if you do that, man.
we're done.
We aren't ready
We
for
are
that
done.
one. We are not ready for that.
We are done.
I mean, the robots are taking over. AI
Well-
is taking over.
Okay, do you think the simulation idea diminishes the value of human experience or enhances it because of the mystery?
For me, it would diminish it.
Yeah, I would probably agree. I mean, it's a cool theory to think about. Like it's always like when I hear about it and listen to things, it's interesting, because there are certain things you're like, okay, like there are things that could make sense, they create the curiosity. But to me, like the human experience truly is just the unknown and the uncertainty. What I love most about the experience is the uncertainty.
Absolutely.
Like you don't know.
Yep.
Like you don't know what's going to happen. Like I have no idea what's going to happen tomorrow.
Right.
And that's the whole human experience.
Isn't the uncertainty of life the beauty of the human experience?
It is,
Absolutely.
100%.
Like if someone could come and give you a definitive date tomorrow, like someone could show up at your office and give you a definitive date the day you're going to die.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to know?
No.
No, absolutely not.
I probably wouldn't believe it. Like, I don't think.
No.
So.
Let's just say,
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
let's just
No, I
say
don't
for
wanna
sake
know.
of argument.
No way.
They
No,
could tell you
I wouldn't want to
exactly.
know that. Absolutely not.
No, not at all.
No.
I think
It's
about
the
it too much
joy.
already.
Yeah.
It's the joy of growing every day. It's the joy of learning every day. It's the joy of having a little bit of a surprise. It's the joy of, we are a living being. We're not something that's robotic. So that is part of the excitement.
You never know.
Is it a challenge? Am I facing a challenge? Am I going to meet somebody that's going to change the trajectory of my life? Am I going to open a door? Am I going to be on a podcast and write a book? And am I going to be on a, whatever that show's going to be? It's just amazing. Why would you want to go through life with just settling, with just knowing that every day is going to be, what is it? What was the show? Not the Truman Show. What was the Truman Show? But it was something, there was another one where the guy just kept going to the factory and then he finally just snaps and then he loses it and then just starts shooting people. I can't remember. What was that one?
Remember Groundhog Day with Bill
Yeah,
Murray?
exactly.
Right. Yeah.
That is where people die because without purpose, without growth, we die just like any other living thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I completely agree.
That's good. And if you think about it, whether you live another 50 years or another year,
Right.
in the big scheme of things, it's all a short time.
Right.
Yeah, it is.
We have a very short time to make the impact that we're going to make.
And we all want that big, juicy taste of life. We want to be living on that edge. We want to be, how much can this body do? How much can my mind take in? How much growth? How much impact? How much can I connect with people?
See, I agree with you because that's pretty much, you just described my existence. But I would argue the point that I don't think that's what all humans want. I think there's a healthy amount of people in society that don't want that. They view what you just described as being too much work. And I think there are people, people that are okay with not thinking deeply.
Mediocrity is definitely the
I
majority.
think there are people that, I think that, but I understand. Like, I can sit there and say, but how? Why? What do you mean you don't want to live vitally? We talk about this all the time. You want to taste everything. I want everything. I tell my wife that. She laughs. I said, not materialistically. I just want it all. And she goes, okay, then get on a plane. Let's go to Europe. I'm like, well, I don't want that bad.
So that's interesting because right there is exactly what I was going to say. Some people define their everything.
Exactly.
And their everything might be the 9 to 5, coaching their kids' soccer game and having beers with their friends. That may be exactly
it's perception.
That is their life.
Yeah, for sure.
Everybody's built differently.
Yeah.
I have friends that are super happy that literally have a 9 to 5. They get to coach their kids. They have beers on their back patio every weekend,
and they live for those 2 weeks vacation.
They love it. Like they're happy. Right. They don't want any. They are right where they want to be.
Or let me ask you this question: are we certain though, because they haven't had a taste of anything different?
I've had people that have had. I've met, and I will tell you this: I have met people that have been to the top and ended in the middle and are completely fine with it.
Sometimes I think about it myself, like
many days.
Man, this could be a much simpler way.
Every day.
Rocco was going to cut grass.
I want to be
those
honest.
guys too.
I'm making my own butter. I'm I got the steer. Like, just leave me alone.
Like you're churning butter over there.
I'm a homesteader,
they're
man.
cutting grass.
Yeah.
I had a
milking
moment.
cows.
I had a moment last year. I bought a bunch of survival gear that's still in the trunk of my car. I'm like, just in case. I might just go live in the
You want
woods.
to go
one day.
live in a van? You want to
I still want to do that. I still want to
Listen,
get
the
that.
It's like
pressure-
there's some benefits
I
to
know.
like society going to nothing because
Right.
then
Yeah.
the pressure's gone.
The pressure's
You know?
gone. Well,
I
the
just gotta,
pressure
like-
of leading,
Yeah.
the pressure of growth, the
Yeah.
pressure of people counting on you for
Yeah.
a paycheck or whatever.
Yeah.
It's enormous. I mean, there's days you do
Yes.
feel like you're going to crack, and it's like, boy, it would be easy to just do the 9 to 5 and sit on my back porch and have beers with my neighbors
Yeah.
every weekend.
Yeah, and some people
It looks appealing.
do it. Some people just say, "All right, well, this is what I'm doing. People
Right.
are talking about it. I'm going to be about it."
Yeah.
I think there's a balance to everything.
But you can't have everybody have that.
Right.
Because I need the people in my life that are super happy
Yeah.
sitting at a computer doing Excel spreadsheets
Yeah.
every day. Because
you have it.
everybody wanted to be me.
Oh,
Who would do that?
That's exactly right.
who would want to some days, right?
That's
gotta
exactly,
be
you're
nuts.
exactly right. You need the people to
Yeah.
do the jobs. And
Oh,
you need
yeah.
people that just want that.
And it's somewhat satisfying to be around that.
Yeah.
Because, like, and listen, hear my heart here. My wife is the most amazing human on the planet.
She is.
But she is not wired anything like me at all. Like, she'll be up at 7 o'clock when it's nice out. She's outside. She's in a chair. And I'll look out the window sometimes, and she's just staring at, like, turkeys coming down the field.
We've
I'm
already
just
put
sitting there
3
like-
hours of work in.
She's a psychopath. What is she doing? And I'll walk out there and I'll be like, "What are you doing? What are you thinking about?" And she'll be like, "Nothing." I'll be like, "What? How,
I so envy that.
I do too.
So do I.
I
Oh my
do too.
God.
you talk
Yes.
about balancing me?" Because I'm looking at it like, "You're nuts." And she's like, "Me? Have you watched the footage of your last week?" I'm nuts? Like, hold up. And I'm like, "I need some of that. Give me just a vial
Yeah.
of that serenity." So I think there is something to that. What is success?
Yeah.
Right? That's the question.
Yeah, exactly.
What is success?
And we're all wired differently. Like everybody's wired differently.
Yeah, and even to our unique idea of that,
Yeah.
it has to be an evolving question as one ages and
Absolutely.
moves through life. So, is there
Yeah.
really a definitive answer to that question? I would say no.
I
No.
don't think so.
No.
There's seasons.
And I think it
Yeah.
changes for us.
Yeah.
Like, wow, I used to define success totally different.
Oh,
And if
I've changed
100%.
20 times in my lifetime. You know?
God forbid any of us went to the doctor next week and they're like, "You have stage 4 cancer," the definition would change again.
Yeah,
Right,
yeah,
it's
absolutely.
true.
would.
Like that.
100%.
Yep.
Yeah, it's something. It is true. You have to think because it changes. Like you said, seasons. I think is
Constantly.
a great way to look at it.
Yep.
Because
Seasons of life.
yeah,
Yeah.
Jim Rohn.
it is. It's just to me like right now. I define success as just the freedom to do what I want.
Right.
Yeah.
Like that's it. It's not about money. It's not about. It's just being able to get up and do. The
And I
things
got
want to
that the moment I left corporate America. The
Yeah.
moment I
Same.
woke
Yeah.
up on a Monday morning,
Yeah.
and Friday I was there, and Monday morning I'm
Yeah.
sitting there with nothing to do, wondering, oh my God, what did I just do?
Same.
But I had the freedom that I could have gone anywhere that morning,
Yeah.
done anything I wanted to do, and I wasn't beholden to anybody.
Yeah.
Right.
Mhm.
Something about
That's
that.
when I realized,
Yeah.
forget the money, it's this.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, like
It's
today.
valuable.
Today, I'm sitting there, and it's sunny outside, right? And I have a little window in this old studio I'm in, and I'm looking out the window, and the guy that cuts the grass is there. They roll in with their ramp, and they take the big thing, and they're cutting the field next to me, and he has his headphones on, like he's bobbing his head. He's got his sunglasses on. He has a little koozie over here. I don't know what it was in it. And I'm watching this guy, and I'm sitting there trying to make sure I don't swear on air for 4 hours every day. That's the main focus of my existence, to make sure I don't drop an F-bomb or something. That really, I'll share it with you. It is.
Yeah, listen.
And there's a level of stress that comes with that. And here's this joker out there cutting grass.
Not a care in the world.
Takes his shirt off.
Yeah.
He's getting sun. And I'm going, I could do that.
Yeah.
I really could do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
And
like
then
the people
and
at the
then
beach that are
and all of
walking
a
by
sudden,
selling
and all of a
stuff.
sudden I'm brought back to reality because I hear nothing. I'm like dead air on the radio. Oh, I run back and hit the button, like, holy shit. But I mean, and again, that's part of the human experience too. Always looking at what others and other circumstances are and comparing it,
But there's something to that too, because there's limitations. There's some degree of limitation there, whether it's financial.
A man must know his limitations.
Or whether it's working for that company or whatever. There's structure there that limit them as well. So part of the freedom is, we take the risk, but it's also like, I'm going to book a flight whenever I want to book a flight and go wherever I want to go, whenever I want to go. Because
you can.
Who am I accountable to? And I have the money to do it. So it's like, there's not always that freedom when you're in that regimented.
And other people would say it's not worth it.
Right.
Because I'd rather not have someone would be saying, I'd rather not have my freedom because I don't have the risk tolerance, knowing that I could lose it all at any minute.
Right.
Yeah.
I know every Friday I'm getting paid. I just put in my 9 to 5.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm good.
Yeah.
So I don't think it is right or wrong.
Right.
I think it's perspective. I think their crime is when you're built for more.
Yeah.
And you waste it.
And you waste it.
How many times have we talked about that?
A lot. Yeah, absolutely.
That's the real crime.
But the only one that can realize that is oneself. You can encourage
and it's a
anyone
wrestling match.
Man. I mean,
that is the ultimate wrestling match.
Yeah.
I'm built for more, but I'm afraid. I'm built for more, but this is safe. I'm built for more, but that's the crime.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's when I gave my resignation, one of the senior managers asking kids, "When I ask you why you're leaving," and I went through to think, well, the schedule and da.
F-bombs.
I said, it's a level of stress that comes with it, and it's just to sleep. And at the end he goes, I think all those are certainly concerns for you, but I'm going to guess the bigger issue is you don't like being confined to other people's expectations. And I go,
yeah.
And he was, I couldn't.
Yeah.
And then when I really sat back and talked to my wife about it later, she goes, that's the whole thing. This is not, all the other stuff is an aggravation for you, but you went 25 years doing what you wanted to do. And that's a level of freedom that you got accustomed to. And all of a sudden now beholden to someone else's schedule or theoretically having a boss or something, you can't be yourself. I couldn't see that.
Hard to go back.
Other people could see that.
Right.
Yeah.
Especially the person I was working for. I don't know what that says about me, but I mean,
have you seen these people that they work to live? Is the camp they're in where they'll go hard for 18 months and they'll live like misers, but they'll stockpile all this cash.
Yep.
And for the next 2 years, they're in the Alps.
Yep.
Right.
They're
I have a friend that's like
they're
that.
at the Great Wall of China.
Yeah. Right.
They're at the Great Barrier Reef.
they're usually single, right?
Or couples. Like there's a
Yeah.
social media couple right now.
Right.
Like they're viral because this is what they're doing.
Right.
And so then why are they viral? Because everybody's saying,
I want to do that.
I could do that. Right?
I could see myself doing that.
I could do that.
Yeah.
They run out of
But
money.
I won't.
They just come back. They
Go to
get a job,
Yeah,
stockpile money,
It's
and
what
go again.
It's like if anyone has sent a message on this podcast in 5 years, it's been Rocco. It's like you have to have confidence that you're just going to figure it out. You got to want something so bad that you can't worry. You can't put the worries at the forefront of like, well, this isn't going to happen. And what if? You just have to have confidence. You will, whatever it is, I'm going to figure it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The key is not
that
quitting.
theme,
Yeah.
if a young entrepreneur who's struggling or someone thinking about being an entrepreneur could just grasp that concept to enhance their confidence. And it's hard, I know, because confidence comes with experience generally.
Sure.
But if you could find a grain of that and just exploit it, that confidence is like gold, man.
Yeah.
It's like freaking gold. You know?
If someone's done what you want to do, that means it can be done. Just figure it out.
Right.
Just figure it out. It's not. It's hard. It's a lot of work, but if you just keep going, you'll eventually figure it out. I mean, I just said, okay, I'm gonna figure out how to start a law firm. Just said, okay, I'm gonna quit a job that paid a lot of money, and I'm like,
if a human's done it, then it can be done.
yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to pitch like Paul Skeens tomorrow,
Yeah.
but I
That's
mean,
back to limitations.
Right. Yeah. I'm
a
not
man must know
gonna
his
do that.
limitations.
Yeah, it's definitely not gonna do that. But yeah, I think it's about confidence. That's it.
But I think you get to a place too that you say it's been done before, so I can do it. But then you get to this place that you start saying, what's never been done before that I'm
Exactly.
capable
Yeah,
of?
that's
That's when
exactly
it gets
right.
exciting.
That's the fun
That's-
part. That's the fun part.
Yeah,
That's
but
the season I'm in. I feel like.
we were on a mastermind call.
Yeah.
Back to like, you got to look at the, who's doing it.
Mhm.
And I remember Lagoni said,
Yeah.
he's on his own health journey.
Yeah.
And he said, I saw a post from Rocco,
Yeah.
and I see all that he's doing, building a firm. He's got kids. He's doing all this stuff, but he stays committed to his habits. And I'm saying to myself, I have no excuse. I know it's possible.
Yeah.
So that there's a message in that, is like, I think about it all the time. I referenced it earlier in the show. There might be a 20-year-old, 18-year-old, 15-year-old Jeff Hancher.
Mhm.
And somebody's like, you got to listen to this show.
Mm.
This guy
Mhm.
reminds me so much of what you're going through now. You need to follow this guy.
Mhm.
He was where you are
Yeah.
right now.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, we owe it
Yeah.
to our gifts
Right.
and our gifting to give that back.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Completely agree, man.
Yeah, I've said it many times. I've always believed that we have the motivational industry ass backwards. We pay successful people to preach to people to how they can do well. I think we should pay people to come and tell everybody how they messed it all up.
No doubt.
Yeah.
No doubt.
Yeah, sign me up. I got a lot of those stories.
Yeah, I thought about writing a book years ago, sharing with Rocco. It was going to be called "Son Not Like Me."
Yeah.
And I had completely humble enough. I am humble enough to put it all out there, and I
Right.
don't really care if
Yeah.
it's going to benefit somebody. I had no
Mhm.
problem talking about my
Yeah.
fallacy. I just don't. I don't have enough pent up, and I have no hang-ups about that. I'm unembarrassable, just about.
Mhm.
And but again, it comes back to sharing. If you're willing
Yeah.
to share that story, it may take a while, but you're going to reach somebody.
That's
you're going
right.
to stop them for either
Exactly.
making the same mistakes
Mhm.
or those kind of, or you're going to encourage them to take the next step in a
Exactly.
different way.
Which also comes with confidence.
A
Because you
million
can't
percent.
tell that kind of vulnerability without a level of knowing who you are.
1,000,000%.
That's not who I am anymore.
Yep.
Because there were years
No,
where
amen to
I'm
that.
hiding this thing
Oh,
10 feet deep in the ground. Like, you are not going to know who I was.
you know it's
and-
bad when when
Right.
it does hit your mind and you go. Ooh.
Oh,
I have
yeah.
those moments
Yeah.
still
yeah,
to
if they
this
find
day.
this out, I'm done.
Yeah,
I'm-
yeah. I feel like
No.
I had that bad dream. You go to school and you're in the second grade and you wake up all of a sudden and you're naked standing in front of the class.
It's a bad day.
And it's a
Bad
bad
day.
day.
It's a bad
I
day.
still get that stupid dream once in a while. I'm like, I'm back in Miss Ray's class. Holy shit.
I've never had that dream. That's wild.
Well, yeah, people say you fall in dreams.
Right,
I don't
whatever.
have that. I have a thing where I'm
That's
holding a
whole-
paper, giving a speech, and I'm butt naked, and they're all looking at me. And I'm in the second
Wonder why.
grade. Yeah, it's really strange.
You unpack that on the next show, man.
Oh, that's a whole show.
That's a
I
whole
won't
show.
even got the couch in the studio this time.
Yeah.
We'll unpack that one next
Yeah.
time.
Thank y'all.
Thank you.
man.
It
It's
was
always
awesome.
good to
we
be here.
We will do this again.
Definitely.
Thank
This
you.
will be a regular thing if you all into that. But
Yeah.
It's a good crew.
Definitely.
Great
Love
crew.
the conversation.
All right.
Absolutely.
Thank you. We are out.
Oof.